RTD Live Talk, Detroit's number one early evening YouTube talk show. Excited to be back for another live stream and looking forward to having a good discussion this Wednesday and check in with you guys and find out what's going on in your lives as well as your neck of the woods and to try to make some sense of what's going on in these crazy markets as well as this just global economy, man. It's all very interesting to say the least. So welcome to this live stream. My name is Mike, the host. Looking forward to getting a chance to meet some new people. Hopefully, hear from some callers. So when the phone line's open, give me a call 313-462-0027, or feel free to ask a thought or share a thought in the chat directly. Just highlight at Rethinking the Dollar, and it'll stand out. And I will definitely try to answer it. And so, where we stand today. Let me see here. So, of course, as a part of the whole Rethinking the Dollar concept, I think the final end goal of everything we're witnessing now is that the Federal Reserve note, as I've always said, will be your greatest financial liability, because between this current moment and the time we're transitioned to whatever that next monetary system might be, there's going to be all types of monetary tools, all types of tricks pulled out of the hat, all types of things that they're going to throw at us. But ultimately, the only thing that can happen is the continuation of the Federal Reserve creating reserves, as well as Uncle Sam continuing to borrow without any idea or any way of being able to pay back, basically leading to extreme inflation, borderline potentially hyperinflation down the line. Nothing new. It's happened every time a country pretty much reaches the end of its limit to borrow. They happen to just run themselves into the ground. So what I want to try to do today is make some sense of this whole yield curve control possibilities that a lot of economists are anticipating the Federal Reserve announcing, I think middle of this month, the next time they have their little meeting and whatnot. And then also the other factors is all in play with that leads to the fact that I believe, as a way of keeping things from completely melting down, things will more than likely melt up as the Federal Reserve try to become the backstop to the entire monetary system in reference to being able to help Uncle Sam sustain their debt levels and provide some liquidity and keep the credit markets moving smoothly. And so what does that mean? I'm anticipating, 50k Dow, 100k Bitcoin, more than likely, and the possibility of gold and silver probably doing a little bit of a rally, but yet more than likely they might stay flat at this current realm, give or take the pressures on silver to actually get physical. And so I'm going to share with you my thoughts on that and try to make sense of what's going on and basically educate myself along with you guys as well. And we walk through this together. So welcome. Anyway, I'm going to check in with the chat, stop ranting, lay out some articles, and then open up the phone lines. I want to hear from you guys. If there's any new viewers, feel free to let me know where you're watching from. I want to give you a shout out, welcome you for tuning in, and then also looking to get more involvement from the audience. So I'm going to try to throw out like a little bit of a not a contest, but an incentive to help spread the message of this whole Rethinking the Dollar channel here. And I'm going to give that to you guys in a minute. But all right, you can check in via chat. I'm going to stop ranting, get into some articles, share my 2 cents, get your thoughts, and we'll keep it moving. So we got Solo in the building. So what's up, RTD family? We got my Hellboy87. Says, what up? Buying opportunity for silver today. Definitely. Every day is an opportunity when you are able to actually get some in your physical possession, regardless of what the premiums might be. We got Jay Ward, we got JoJo, we got Philman, we got Rolf. Says 28 trillion debt party in the USA. Rolf, that's very true. USA debt clock, 28 trillion, but it's, we're still in the early stages as to where I believe this is going to go once I lay out these articles here. We got Gene, we got Daryl, we got Barlight Broker, Las Vegas retired, we got Sterling Lee, my 15 minimum wage and $30 for a gallon of gas. Yeah, man. Yeah, this is all interesting. But anyway, let's dive right into it, man. So let me pull up my articles here. And so I have a lot of interesting articles that I would probably want to encourage you guys to take a look into, because they're quite lengthy, but yet they kind of give a good explanation as to what economists are anticipating. And so it basically lays some groundwork for us to build upon. Anyway, and so here's an article here. I want to lead off with this one. It says the Fed could be firing up economic stimulus in disguise. And so this article here is based upon the chatter that's going on about what is the Federal Reserve going to do with the threat of the 10-year as well as the 30-year bond yield increasing which is basically reflective of the fact that they're anticipating inflation and they're starting to see inflation. And of course, Jerome Powell said there's no concern, there's no inflation, nothing's going to change, yada, yada, yada. But on the other end of that, they don't want borrowing costs to go up because that makes it very hard for Uncle Sam to keep this thing going as far as borrowing is concerned. And then also busting the housing bubble is probably the ultimate concern when it comes to those mortgages for the 30-year Treasury, which is basically a peg to the borrowing costs for mortgages. So they don't want people to not be able to afford housing because that's a part of the whole recovery. So anyway, interesting article here. But what's really brought up in this article that I want to touch on, and it has to do with Operation Twist. And so Operation Twist, they're number 3, and I can just basically talk about it and share my 2 cents on it. And so it says, as it's been dubbed by economists, it says will be the Fed selling some of the short-term dated U.S. Treasury bonds and buying longer-term bonds to flatten the yield curve as it did in 1962 and 2011. So this is the narrative that is being floated out there. And I think it's more so coming from the Federal Reserve, FOMC. They've leaked this stuff out there to get people thinking that, this is one of the tools that they're going to try to implement. And they're testing the markets right now. And, if you look at the current, 10-year Treasury yield, it did a spike last week. It's kind of, mellowed out a little bit. And a lot of people say it's abnormal, given all the other activity happening with the drop in the markets and the Dow rather, and it correcting and whatever. So just a lot of speculation as to why that is. So long story short, this whole Operation Twist article here gives some good insight as to how this is another tool that they're going to attempt to use, given the fact they can't really lower interest rates because we're already basically at the zero bound level at what was it 0.25%. Or 1/4% actually. And so what are they going to do? They're going to do all types of things on the surface. So Operation Twist is one of the methods they will use in the form of yield control. And so here's another article here. It says, yield curve control explain how soon this blank check, the Fed bond buying program could happen. And so what's interesting about this article here is that with this whole yield curve control aspect, is basically the Federal Reserve giving themselves another way of providing support for the debt market and keeping confidence in the debt market, as well as the fact that a lot of nations, I got an article here about how Russia, everybody's trying to get out of the dollar for the most part. That's the whole de-dollarization process. So a lot of governments and nations are basically selling their treasuries and whatnot. And who has to buy them? Who's going to buy them? The Federal Reserve. So this is going to play into this whole yield curve control because they're going to be able to, buy more debt from the government directly, which will basically, flood the world with more currency. On top of the fact that we have Janet Yellen and the Treasury general account, which is about, as it says here, 1.1 trillion of savings for the most part that will actually hit the markets as well, creating more of an influx of currency out there. And so between this Operation Twist, which is ultimately their version of, of selling short-term debt, buying the long-term, and then eventually turning into some type of yield curve control. So that's 2 possible measurements of debt purchasing that the Federal Reserve will be in charge of or put themselves in charge of. But then you got the Treasury that will be looking to unwind their savings account with this 1.1 trillion. So that's going to be more currency flooding the markets. And then on top of that, you have quantitative easing, which is $120 billion a month that's being pumped out there by the Federal Reserve, also buying up mortgage-backed securities and treasuries from the banks themselves. So what does all that lead to? That's going to lead to an influx of digital units that will be hitting the economy, further increasing the price of goods and services, even though Federal Reserve said that there's no inflation in the main economy, but yet the asset bubbles which is what they choose to measure the health of the economy on, with those assets, mortgage rates. We got the bond market as well as the equities markets, and all the other inflated assets will continue to spike at an ever increasing rate. Therefore, I'm anticipating, as I mentioned before, to start this off for those just tuning in, how with all of these measures being thrown out there, it's going to basically create more liquidity out in the markets to where it's going to be less demand to actually buy government bonds. And they're going to take all those funds and where they're going to put it at. They're going to put it in the equities. They're going to put it in the housing. They're going to put it to speculative assets, because basically the Federal Reserve has put a floor underneath the system, basically saying that we're going to be there to provide accommodations no matter what. And so people are going to be chasing yield. Therefore, I can see a 50,000 DAO, easily 100k Bitcoin, and you name it. Housing market will continue to just go bananas on the coast as well as in the Midwest. So anyway, a couple more articles that I can share, but this is the actual Treasury general account that I wanted to point out how this thing, they're trying to bring this thing down over the next couple of months. So it's going to be more than enough cash out there, people. And it's going to become very pricey for you and I to, to ignore the inflation that we're going to experience with goods and services. And so here's the last article here. It says Moscow must continue necessary policy of de-dollarization to end dependence on the U.S. currency. And so you got stuff like this out here where you got Russia as well as China and other nations. They're like, hey, if the Federal Reserve is going to begin buying everything, flooding the world with more units, basically distorting any type of free market whatsoever or price discovery, we don't want to hold those things. So if the governments around the world, if they're choosing to de-dollarize, to me, that leads me to believe that I would probably want to follow suit with them and do the same thing or lessen my exposure to too much cash. And it's just my opinion. And of course, precious metals will be the safe haven. And then because of all this currency going to be looking for a new place to land, you can say the cryptocurrency space is going to go bananas as well. So if you want to earn some of those digital units to put them back into your weight, you kind of got an idea as to where all the fresh currency will be floating to. So anyway, that's my little 2 cents there, spiel. Just trying to, walk myself through this as I continue to try to learn how all this is going to play out myself. But ultimately knowing, as of right now, this unit right here, this current administration is going to take the Federal Reserve note off the cliff and then bring in that next central bank digital currency rebrand. But anyway, okay, let me stop ranting. Let's talk. I'm going to open up the phone lines. I want to hear from you guys. And let me know what's on your mind or comment on anything I've touched on or elaborate on it. Either one, I'm always down to learn something new myself because I want to hear from you guys. All right, so I'll check in with the chat as well. Oh, low blood pressure. Great topic. The no mask. So I'm going to pull up some articles on that because I'm curious to get your guys' thoughts on that. And I'm curious as to how long will that last before there's some type of event that occurs in those states. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
What's going on, Mike? It's Crypto Karan from Chicago, man. How you doing?
I'm doing good, my man. What's on your mind this afternoon? Give me a quick thought.
Hey, first off, Mike, you are a legend, man. I appreciate it, man. Just finding you and a couple others, but finding you, man, took me down a rabbit hole of financial security and ultimately freedom. And I appreciate that, man. That's off the top.
Thanks. What's on your mind?
But I'll tell you what, man, off the back, look, silver, man, I love silver. I love gold. You know what I mean? That's what the channel is about. That's what brought me to the financial. But, man, I'll tell you what, I wear more silver than I wear gold. Now, people think I'm crazy, but, man, I'll tell you what, I know silver, the industrial value of it is worth more than gold. Love silver. People will see in the meantime, right? Part of that, Bitcoin, man, I'll tell you what, this is what it is. Everybody needs to get one, man. I know it's tough right now. It's at 50,000. We might trend down to, I think, about 38. And that might be a good entry point for a lot of people. But get one, man. I mean, because, again, I read an article the other day that one Bitcoin, it'll be worth about, 6,000 acres of land. That's about 9.5 miles of land. Yeah. You know what I mean? Imagine that. You know what I mean? The Bitcoin time traveler, again, I read Bitcoin Standard. I mean, once you go down a rabbit hole, you understand. Yeah. That's it, Mike. Yeah. That's the end goal, Mike. You know what I mean? You got to have one. You got to have one. You got a piece of the internet, man. Period. Right. Michael Saylor, Pompliano, all these guys. Michael Saylor's number one, man. But everybody needs to get one. And once you get one, you'll understand what happens as far as it's a rhythm, man. It's crazy. Get one, and I tell you what, whatever Fiat you got, whenever it goes down, whenever it dips down, buy it, and then when it goes up, sell it. Yeah. And you're gonna pay 37% taxes. Yeah, you do. Yeah. But again, always have one coin already, right? And then play with the money. You go up and down, and then stack to 2, and stack to 3. You never. Well, I'm telling you what, Mike. I'm glad we're talking in 2021 in March. I tell you what, man, them whole coiners, dude, they gonna run countries. We got 195 countries right now. Yeah. I bet we have about 2,000 very soon, Mike. In the next 10, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Once everybody become sovereign and can make their own rules,
yeah.
it changes the game, man.
Hey,
so man. Become a whole pointer, man. That's all I got, Mike, man. I appreciate you guys.
Thanks for the call, my man. Be good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, man. I appreciate that. And so, once again, my personal opinion is that, looking at these numbers right here, not everybody can afford to come in at that 50K mark. And so I remember saying this, maybe was it a year, definitely a year, maybe 2 years ago when I talked about, the whole cryptocurrency, in particular Bitcoin. I was like, based upon where BTC in particular is going to go, based upon all the things I mentioned earlier, because of all the global central banks around the world are going to flood the planet with currency, BTC, which is 21 million, however, whatever, because it's limited supply in relation to the amount of currency in the trillions and quadrillions that will probably be coming in digits, you don't need one whole Bitcoin. You can just use, in my personal opinion, if you could grab 0.1, a tenth of a Bitcoin, which right now will be, was it $5,000? And so if that was something or whatever, you could probably accumulate that 0.1 will definitely turn into something substantial in regards to all the liquidity it will absorb. Then it's going to be a matter, okay, at that moment when it's time to get rid of it, what can you buy with it? And so I don't really think you need a whole one. You just need a piece of one if that's something you're interested in. But yet, once again, the same amount of absorption of liquidity that this BTC will probably gain, so will gold and silver as well. But that's something you physically can hold. So, but other than that, I appreciate the thought, man. Appreciate the comments as well. So give me a call, share your thoughts on that. And if you agree or disagree, feel free to call in. Let's have a little back and forth. That's what I want to make sure I give you guys a chance to share your thoughts, whether you agree or not. It's all fine and good. Let's talk this thing out. Hello, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hi, Mike. This is Victoria, Mama Bear.
Victoria,
from Florida.
How you doing?
I've been with you for a long time since you first started. But I have a question. We're all in the same boat, right?
Yep.
And then we've done our silver, we've done our gold. I am out of the market completely. Mm-hmm. But my thing is, okay, we source food. We know it's coming. When do we think it's coming now? Because we've seen how far they've pushed the game.
Yeah.
What else should we be prepping for? Because we all have kids, right? Yeah. Or we have friends and family that have kids. And we don't want to be stuck in a food line. We really need to be discussing, besides like more crypto, mm-hmm. is preparing ourselves for the great takedown of the food line, our future food line.
Yeah, good point. Great points.
And also if we could start talking about what, I remember way back in the day, we used to, well, you used to, we used to write down what's the new coins, what we should be getting into. Maybe we should start concentrating on that, because on the next collapse, mm-hmm. I want to go in and start buying cryptos.
Yeah.
Right now I'm out of the market.
Right.
Okay, no big deal.
Right.
I'm just this there. I'm a chicken. So can we start going back to the old days when we used to, you used to discuss what upcoming coins and what they hold, like, remember the pharmaceutical coins and like the different currencies that you were discussing?
Yeah.
And then another thing is, what's your backup for your backup plan? Like, do you plan on leaving the country to get two back?
Whoa, okay, that's a lot of things in one. I'll try to touch on that as much as I can. And according to those questions, that's a lot of food for thought there. Go ahead.
Even if we don't get to it today, mm-hmm. like after I hang up, if we can think about that, because this is all on our minds.
Right.
Like, we have such a big community, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if we all took a little money, maybe we could go buy like apartment complex in Venezuela, not Venezuela, but I'm sorry, not Venezuela, but like Costa Rica. And you went on that vacation, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah.
I forgot where you, was it Peru? Was it?
No, so let me see. Letu was it? Puerto Rico. I've been to several countries in the meantime. I don't know. So I'm assuming Puerto Rico, which is not a country but a state. But you referring to Puerto Rico, or you were talking about an actual country in Latin America?
Yeah, remember you were like looking around a few years ago for places to stay, like just in case.
Yeah, and that's pretty much every place I've gone. I've always surveyed the land to see what it's like if I was to geographically relocate there. So that's just a second habit. But watch this. Let me touch on some of those thoughts you shared, and then I will. We can definitely. I'm open to those type of discussions all the time. So a lot of the stuff we can also. I want to encourage you guys touch the Discord channel so we can talk about it further via text. Go ahead.
Yeah, I need to get on this Discord channel. I'm sorry I haven't been able. By the time I put the kids down and all this stuff, I try to catch the live streaming, and then I get too tired at night, and it's time for bed.
Well, hey, I appreciate you calling.
Hold on. If we could just try and discuss maybe a backup for the backup plan.
Okay, backup plan.
And go back to the point.
Good deal.
Bye, hon.
Appreciate you. Bye. All right, good stuff there. A lot of things packed into that one. And so the backup for the backup plan. Okay, so that's definitely something we can touch on. And so the very first thing she talked about was, preparation for, I guess when everything is taken down or when the system comes on in or whatever. And so my personal opinion is like, March 2020 was the start. And so since that time frame, everybody has made some adjustments in their lives in one form or another. And so the transition period that meaning the sick, twisted, evil, people who are orchestrating this whole situation, they started last year in March. And so we're in year one of what I mentioned last year was going to be a 10-year game plan. And so along with that whole 10-year time frame that I've just, I'm assuming 10 years, if they fully execute their plan, it'll be 10 years. They even told us that by 2030, you'll own nothing. You'll be happy with it. So that's their sick game plan. And so what are we doing along the way? And so that's where, me personally, I still love to, survey the land because it's ultimately a paradigm shift. They've changed the way we will conduct our lives. Therefore, we have to change as well and see things kind of from the way they see it, but on hopefully one step ahead. And so as far as preparation, as far as the daily lives, food, water, shelter, all those things are things we've been doing for quite some time now. Everybody should have some reserves when it comes to your food, when it comes to your energy, and some type of way of sustaining yourself in the short term. Now, in the long run, it's kind of hard to game plan and navigate in this country in particular, as well as anywhere else in the world, because as we're witnessing COVID, like they're going to continue to pump, testing for the tracing and the tracking by the jab. So that also changes the equation as well, because if it wasn't a health situation that all governments were in line with, we could easily geographically relocate to someone else. But then again, within the next year, we won't be able to leave this country unless you got some paperwork in the form of a passport that says you got 2 jabs. So that changes plans as well. So it's like more than likely the chance of leaving, you might leave, but you may not be getting back in at this current moment. So more than likely, a lot of people will not be leaving. So it's a matter of hunkering down here. And what I really have been thinking about is the fact that I've just noticed over the last year, especially during lockdown last year, a lot of 5G towers went up. Like, the telecom industry were busy at work while the government's told everybody to stay in the house. And so there is a 5G tower in every heavily populated area in this country. I even went on T-Mobile just to see what coverage. And I remember like last year or 2 years ago, T-Mobile had little patches throughout the country where there was no pink signals representing a 5G. But as of right now, those things, it's completely pink with a couple spots here and there. And so the reason I mention that is because, once again, my personal opinion is that the technology that's inside of those jabs, I put it in the Discord. If you look up Moderna, you go to a website, and it mentions nothing about a vaccine. It talks all about their software, their platform, their technology. And so within that bottle, that little vial, in that liquid form, in there is some technology, nanoparticles or whatever, that is smart. And if it's not smart, mind you, they're going to require a jab like the flu season. So every year it's going to get smarter in that little vial. So ultimately, the goal is to track, trace, and to basically, survey the land by being able to track every human body on this planet. And so that's all a part of the sick, twisted plan. Believe it or not, okay, it's not my opinion. Just look at what, the Gates and the Faucis and all those people are doing. But ultimately, so where can we not be tracked and traced if we are not a part of that system? And it's going to be literally like, somewhere in the mountains, somewhere in areas where it's currently not populated now. I'm thinking like, I don't really know too well, but Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, all those regions where it's just wide open space and there's no humans population or the places where we might end up having to migrate to as best we can. So I'm going on a long rabbit hole, but you kind of see what I'm saying as to where, based upon the current trajectory, it's hard to make sufficient plans because the enemy, the devil, is hard at work. So ultimately, we got to consult Christ himself through the Holy Spirit for guidance. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of what I'm trying to focus on myself. And of course, every day learn to live, to enjoy. And keep in mind, for this is me from a spiritual standpoint, this life is not forever. You know, I'm here, but I'm not, you know, this is not my permanent place of occupation or residence rather. So that's just me ranting for no reason. Anyway, but that goes into a little bit what I was saying. So hope that was of use to somebody. But yet the transition is underway. Last year was a start. This is year one. And so once again, COVID is going to be the catalyst to bring all this change about, as an article put into the Discord today about the CDC saying that they're officially going to announce that it's okay to start gathering with your family and friends if you got vaccinated. Like, you know, like, who are you to give me permission? I was already hanging with my family and friends, so you know what I'm saying? So, but there's a lot of people out there who believe that. That's why I believe misinformation, in my personal opinion, can save lives. Misinformation, to me, is the most important thing we can share amongst ourselves because it should get people to think and to question. I'm a firm believer. Do not trust scientists. Do not trust the experts unless you do your own research and validate what they say, which once you do some research, more than likely you're going to find out that what they're telling you is not necessarily the truth because they have a lot at stake because they're trying to cover up basically the transition of this monetary system, and they need to do it by keeping people locked down, keeping people in fear, by literally thinking that it's solely a health situation, and that's not the case. Okay, so I'm ranting too much. Forgive me. Let's talk. Hello, caller. What's there? Where you calling from?
Hey, Mike, it's low blood pressure, Corpus Christi. How's it going?
LBP, I'm doing good, man. Give me a quick thought. What's on your mind?
Man, it's gonna be interesting, Mike. No mask. So what's gonna happen? I'm gonna go to the grocery store and I'm gonna go in and I'm not gonna wear it, and they're gonna say, you know, certain businesses still want you to wear them according to the news, you know?
Yeah.
What are they gonna say? Put it on so you'll be arrested? I want to see them physically make me put that thing on.
Yeah, and what's funny when I saw that, and so I think as of now I saw something about Mississippi, we have Texas, and I think I heard Florida or something like that is next or something like that. So of course, those are Republican-based states, and so I can imagine more to come. And that's creating the divide in politics. You got the red states, no mask, and here's the biggest thing is they need to keep fear out there. So will there be some type of false flags or different variants intentionally placed into those states that can really cause some damage so they can point it back at the Republican governors and say, you shouldn't have did this, it's your fault, and you know what I'm saying? So I can imagine, I can see some new variants popping up in those states, and therefore the blame being placed on those governors, and Biden gets his full-fledged country lockdown because the Democratic states, they ready to lock down at any moment. Like here, Whitmer, she's ready to lock down again. Just say the word. She's like that. Stay home. So believe me, a second lockdown, another lockdown is right up Biden's alley. So anyway, go ahead, man.
It's going to be interesting. Look, man, the gas stations on the beach here, you don't have to wear shoes in there. You don't have to wear a shirt. People go in there in bikinis. Everything is relaxed, you know, but you got to wear that mask, you know, make sure. You don't have to wear shoes, but wear a mask. But now that you don't have to wear them, it's going to be very interesting to see what they do. If they're going to be like a mask Nazi, you know, there with a baton and a mask. I don't know what's going to happen, Mike. It's going to be fun, I tell you that.
Now, so I will be curious to see how like Walmart's, the major chains that never shut down, you know, period, like the major, you know, publicly traded companies, which are the most important. They're essential because the politicians are shareholders in those companies. So I wonder how Walmart might respond. Like, will they say no, in order to come in, you have to wear it or not? So I need you to let me know, man. So, you know, next week or two, I need you to go shoot a video walking into Walmart and see what they say, what they tell you, and then share it with us.
I'll try, Mike. But I'll probably be in a prison, but I'll try to download it live so that they won't take my phone. Okay.
Sounds good, man. Hey, I appreciate you for calling, man.
All right, Mike. Have a great day.
Be good.
Bye.
All right. Yeah, so great call there. So yeah, once again, for all the viewers out there that are in those states where masks are not required, feel free to shoot some video. Like take your phone, shoot some video, and then shoot it to me. And I would definitely love to share it with the community. And that's another thing. Let me do some house cleaning real quick before I share my last thought, and then I'm gonna get ready to dial back. Gotta hit the streets a little bit. But for those that are tuning in, if you've enjoyed the back and forth, hit that thumbs up button, share this video if you like, and also as an incentive to kind of help get the message out there so people can begin critically thinking what's going on, I want to give away some free shirts. So this is how you get a chance to get a free shirt. If you hung out with us this far, feel free to participate. What you do once this video is done, grab the URL and then share it on your favorite social media platform. And if you check out the ones beneath this, I'll pull it up here so you can see it. It's just, if you want a chance to win one, I'm going to probably do a drawing. But, if you click the social media tab beneath this video here, we got all the social media sites, whether it be like, say, for example, Instagram or Facebook or Twitter, one of the, the mainstream ones, which is where a lot of people need to be, grabbed from so they can wake up to reality. If you share this video here on any of those mainstream platforms, Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, and tag at Rethinking the Dollar, so I'll be notified. I'll do a little drawing and probably put out 4 or 5 shirts to the winners. And, it's a way of me sharing and thanking you for supporting the channel if you're interested, and helping grow the audience as well, because we need to reach a lot more people. So feel free to do that. So if you guys are interested, do that. And then also, for those that are new to the channel, feel free to check out the Rethinking the Dollar blog, where I share articles throughout the day, so you'll be, kept in tune with what's going on. And then tomorrow night at about maybe 10 p.m., we're going to have our off the air, unfiltered Patreon chat, where we'll bounce ideas off each other and talk more in depth without being filtered by the big brother and big tech. And so those are for Patreon lovers there. So if you want to be a supporter of the channel via Patreon, become a Patreon member. You get notified. You can join us on screen and actually help me co-host. So that's kind of the idea. Give you a chance to share your voice. And then we can go from there. And so what I want to talk about here, last one, as I hinted at, my concern with 5G and how, a part of this whole mandatory vaccination process, which is coming, is designed to put actual tracers and trackers in our body, I believe. And so when I talked about the 5G network, how it's everywhere, and so the goal is to utilize a 5G network to get real-time tracking of every single citizen in this country that has put that, bioweapon into their bodies. And so if you look at the networks here, and so these, this thing here is entirely flooded. It looks like every region has 4G in it, and then the dark red spots are the 5G. And here in Nevada, a little bit in Idaho, Montana, a little Washington, there's no coverage. Those are probably wild open areas where it's just, desert for the most part. And then if you look at AT&T also as well, you got some in Maine, and this western region are areas where obviously there's no population there, so there's no need for towers. And so here's a 5G for T-Mobile, where the West Coast appear to be areas where there's no coverage. And so ultimately what I see in the future, and, this is my opinion here, my thought, but eventually a lot of people who don't want to participate in this tracking system that we're being set up in this surveillance state, a lot of people probably looked at move to those areas and try to set up shop there. So I think that's probably where a lot of people might end up, down the line, if we're not welcome in society no more because we choose to try to opt out. So that's just my 2 cents there. I could be 100% wrong, but once again, man, I'm gonna leave it at that. But, once again, keep in mind, the kingdom of God is here. Christ is inside of us. That's his kingdom. That's his governance. And so right now we're at a spiritual class, the kingdom of darkness and kingdom of light. And for those that are in Christ, be of good cheer. You on the winning side. Christ has already overcome. And so with that being the case, man, try to put a smile on your face and try to, hold your head up high and, hey, walk by faith, not by sight, ultimately. So, but anyway, I can preach on forever, but I'm not going to do that. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thumbs up button, share this, leave a comment down below. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, whether I'm right, wrong, whatever. Feel free to share. Anyway, be blessed, be safe. Peace.